Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is number 5 of the Overcaffeinated and Overqualified podcast with myself, Ryan, and David, or Chef DeMarco. How you
What's
doing,
up?
David?
Good, man.
Good, fantastic. So today we're going to be covering an interview video. I don't know if some people may or may not have heard of Tony Robbins. He is very big in the area of personal development, self-development, even finances, a whole bunch of things, just all about making your life better and just being fulfilled and happy with everything that you have, everything that you want to accomplish, and figuring out how to get that. So we're going to be covering an interview that was he was interviewed by a man named Tom Bilyeu, and
hmm
he is the host of a show called Impact Theory. All the links will be down below so that you can check him out. I've been listening to Impact Theory for a while now, a couple years, and has done interviews with people from like from like entrepreneurs all the way to like sports athletes, psychologists, almost anyone you could kind of think of, really.
hmm
It's just, and that again kind of encompasses the area of like health, fitness, personal development, entrepreneurship, business, all that kind of stuff. So like there's a lot of different stuff in there that these people interview and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be covering today. And again, the link to the interview will be down in the description. So I do recommend that you go and check that out, just to kind of give you like that firsthand experience. Tony Robbins puts a lot of emotion and sincerity into how he speaks, and he really has a way to get you fired up in a way, regardless of what he's talking about, in whatever kind of environment or speech he's giving. Even if it's like an interview, he still kind of finds a way to fire you up and also maybe even inspire you, if that's the right word.
hmm
So, uh, do recommend you check that out at some point in correspondence to watching or listening to this.
Right. I agree. I agree.
So definitely, to get the stuff off, we want to do some more follow-up again on goals and 30-day goals that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So David, why don't you kick that off?
So, from last week, I do believe when we talked to Michael on Friday, not not recalling the date of Friday's podcast, but since then I have been looking for um, either a small condo or an apartment or a small house, and we've decided on just to get an apartment,
Mm-hmm.
very affordable apartment, so you can save some money and work towards your ultimate goal, hopefully, with that. So we did find one. We're moving in next week on Sunday, so we'll have to plan a podcast accordingly around that, which will be very doable, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll be easy. And I guess I also wanted to say, what did you accomplish, Ryan, for your week since we last talked?
Definitely
Anything
been
major, big?
I don't know if you want to say it's big, but still moving forward and like trying to figure out some stuff when it comes to managing finances for the future. So I just learned that I've known we have the ability to put money into an HSA account for work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a health savings account basically, and it goes with our insurance, because with the way our insurance works, you don't. A lot of companies, the insurance is like the deductibles for like when you go to like doctors or have something done. Usually, like there's a deductible that will cover the entire cost of like whatever is happening. But with the way our insurance works, the deductible is not always 100% for things, especially for
Right.
like major things. It's only up to a certain, like a larger number. So the company provides money itself into the HSA account every year, and then you can contribute more. So that's a tax-free account, basically, and that money stacks over time. So let's say I don't spend anything health-wise this year. Next year I'd have $2,000 versus the $1,000 that I have now.
Interesting.
So,
So basically, you're saying that it's like a Aflac health insurance for your specific business.
uh,
Is that what you're saying?
maybe I don't know much about like Aflac. It's just like it's part of the insurance that like we offer, and then that's how they make up for. That's how companies that don't have like low paying deductibles. That's how they make up for it. Is they have that and they provide you with money to, in a sense, then like pay for the deductible.
Interesting.
So what with that is I learned that after you have, I think it was like 3,000 or $4,000 sitting in there, you can invest that money, so you can buy, you know, your index funds, your mutual funds, or whatever funds they offer, so you can get that money compounding over time, basically.
Wow. So it's a benefit of the working in the
Yeah,
corporation. Wow.
very beneficial, especially since you can put $3,000 in there every year, 1,000 of which is given you by the company itself.
Wow.
And again, that's a tax-free account as well.
That's huge.
And as long as you use that on medical expenses, they don't tax it either.
Yeah,
So
dental
that
as
is,
well, or
yeah. So that's any medical expenses. So like,
okay.
yeah,
Wow.
your dental, like your eye, doctor's visits, anything like that. Like anything you can think of medical wise. You know, you could even get by. Some people get by with buying like vitamins and stuff like that with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more on the shitty side, in my opinion, but it still classifies as like health, basically anything like health related.
Prescriptions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
prescriptions, all that you pay for with that.
Right. Okay.
So I learned that you could invest with that, and I thought that was like really cool. I was surprised that I didn't know that. So that was like another area again where I was putting money in there, but I never really focused on maxing that tax-free amount out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went in there to try to figure out how to max it out, I learned you can invest in. It was like, oh wow, yeah, I definitely need to be maxing this tax-free amount out. Yeah, that's a big
Totally.
deal for.
Did your boss tell you that, or was that? Did
No,
you
it's just
read?
something that I looked into. I was looking into.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's so many things that from this job from my last job, there's so many other like things that I don't want to know if you said that the company offers, but that we're like enrolled into and like have for like benefits wise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That you kind of have to like read into it and figure some of the stuff out, because there's a lot of like free stuff that's out there. You just gotta like find it and then like do it.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, like, so you have like that, something like that, right? So they're allowing you to do tax-free money. So they're gonna just mention that you can put up to that amount in there, but they're not gonna encourage you to do that, because
Right.
that's, you know, more money out of the big picture, or whatever you could say, I guess,
Totally get
in
it.
my opinion.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And if I mean, I think we would be different if we were in a state of a big corporation looking down on our employees. I think that would be a great benefit for them to have in
Hmm.
the long run too. If you're helping them, somehow fulfill their, needs or financial dreams. I guess you could
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
So that's
Like
awesome.
I said, it obviously varies by company, and it's what companies do that don't have low paying deductibles
Mm,
to like to balance that out.
right. I get it.
Yeah. So
Awesome, man.
that was pretty sweet.
That's awesome. I'm glad that last week you had the conference, which like trumped what I had going on. Um,
Hmm.
but that's still cool that we find at least a positive out of the week. Than if we didn't think about it. Like I would have never thought finding somewhere, regardless of the situation, was a
Uh-huh.
positive. Besides just moving in general.
Yeah.
But that's awesome.
No, you know, finding some place is really cool. You know, it's definitely like a big step. Obviously, you've kind of been on your own for a while now,
Yeah.
but you know, like you said, this is like a different environment. Obviously, when you go to live with a girlfriend versus roommates, different scenario, situation even. I learned that myself from first living with a girlfriend and now living with roommates.
Oh, I
So
forgot about that. Yeah.
I've had that both experiences, and I don't want to say it's like a completely different, you know, environment and atmosphere, but it definitely is like, it's definitely different. And
Yeah.
and
I totally
until you
forgot about
do
that,
it,
Ryan. Yeah.
you can't really fathom. Is that the right word? Like, what it's
That could
actually
work.
like to like live with your girlfriend, or you know, to have roommates, or like to live with your friends, until you actually like do it.
Right. And this would be
Definitely
the
a
first time
rewarding
for me.
experience.
I've actually done both technically, if we think about it, on my end.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So yeah, so that I kind of can see both ways, and
Mhm.
both really worked. I have to say, especially going to college, living with
Yeah.
dormies, dorm
Mhm.
mates. You kind of have the same goal, go to class, go to work, come back, have a good time, and then do it
Mhm.
again tomorrow. So I see how that is.
Yeah.
So how do you feel towards your 30-day goal? Have you been doing anything big for that? Obviously, mine was very vague for the first month to just kind of practice it. I
Hmm.
can't really remember what yours was. I think it was also just very surface level. I don't know if you were, oh, you were mainly about finances and getting stuff together. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was exactly either, but
You didn't write it down.
I definitely set stuff like money aside, then like did that right off the bat. So that was like really good. I'm just trying to be a little bit more, I don't know if positive you could say, just
Yeah,
kind of like get back into like being just the better person in a way when it comes to like situations and stuff.
right.
Like obviously today's topic goes a lot into that.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like, being happy now, choosing to like not suffer now, just being the better be the better person now, regardless of like what's going on.
Right.
And that's
Totally agree.
obviously a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
Mine was just to be a better person in general, whether
Yeah.
that's complimenting, doing the extra step to make someone feel good about themselves, be better, which is
Hmm.
very service level in my opinion. But maybe next month we start on a weird day, so it's going to be in a week or so. Next
Hmm.
week, I'll switch mine. But yeah, I've been taking steps just to be a nice. I believe in karma a lot too. So like, let's say I put good
Yeah.
in the world, good will return eventually, or just in the near future or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it's coming around for me. So it's
Hmm.
working out. It's working out. Definitely working out.
Yeah. Because you definitely get back what you put in,
Mm-hmm.
as you sow, so shall you reap, all
Mm-hmm.
that. Laws of nature, laws of the universe, you can't, it's great when you believe in it, you know that it's happening because it is happening.
Totally. Yeah. Totally agree. Well, let's hop into it, man. Let's get this
All
started.
right. So going it in, like I said, we're not going to play anything from the video here.
Right.
I'm just going to hit on some key points, some highlighted things, and we're kind of going to talk about it. Now, a lot of this is going to focus on like three things, the main things, three, like we'll call them, just like the three things that go on in life, the three most important things in life, almost we'll say. So one of them is the six human needs. So we're going to talk about those, and then we're going to have the art of fulfillment and the science of achievement. And when we get down to those two, it's important to note how one was an art and then how one was a science. So
Right.
there's kind of some key takeaways between how to look at when we talk about those and how you look at those and how the difference between the whole science and art. So definitely keep your ears open for that. So going in real just briefly, like I said, check out the interview. You get a lot more context. You get to listen to Tony, and it is just great to listen to. So I really recommend you check that out. But let's just get going into it. So in life, people focus on just definitely like a core group of things. So let's just say seven, eight major or minor things.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times, people focus major and minor things. So what that means is you focus on things that aren't really important overall. So I guess an example of that is when people worry so much about what other people think about you instead of worrying about how you think about yourself. So you're focusing on always looking outward towards how everyone feels about you instead of focusing on the important thing of how you look at yourself and then how you project yourself outwards. So
Right.
that's an example of the whole majoring in something minor instead of the major. So going in, you don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. That's not going to do it. If there's energy, if there's vitality, if there's strength, it's going to show up in your relationship, it's going to show up in your business, it's going to show up in your life. That's something you got to master. You can't dabble. It's too important. Emotions are everything. So one thing that, again, learning from my goal of wanting to master finances and be more set up for the future, when you talk surface level with people, you people always think that you just want, more money, and that it's sometimes it's like a greed factor. But for me, it's definitely not. And the reason you could say, when you say you want more money, you have to say like, why do you want more money? So
Right.
for me, it's like freedom, to be able to not have to worry about going to work and still be able to do whatever I want. But more specific than that, I want to be able to continue to create the experience, good fun experiences for my friends and family. Uh, Going another example into that. So one thing growing up, never really went on vacations as a family because we just couldn't afford it. Didn't have the money to take 6 people, to anywhere like you could say like cool or whatever. Like sure you went to like Cedar Point or to Columbus to see, like family stuff like that, but you never went to, you didn't go to Florida, you didn't go to California, you didn't go to Disneyland, you didn't go to, any other country, anything like that.
Like
Um,
big vacations.
yeah, bigger vacations.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want to say more things that are more memorable. That's kind of bad, but like I don't, yeah,
Right.
bigger
I
things,
get
I
what
guess
you're
you could
saying.
say. So, didn't get to travel a lot, growing up as a family. So one reason why I want to have money is so that I can provide those experiences for my family now, and I can take care of it. They don't have to worry about paying for anything. You know what I mean? I could say we're going here, everything's bought, everything's paid for, and that's an experience that I want to be able to provide.
Right.
Just, and I need more money to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I want more money.
Totally. I totally get it. And going back to the majoring in minor things or majoring in major things,
Mm-hmm.
the big thing that I pulled from that, from what he said,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you made it a point to not worry about what other people think and have like a fake like lifestyle to get like better or better engagement or just like more likes or just whatever it is, whatever your
Mm-hmm.
monetary value is that you want to achieve from people. Just get rid of the clutter in your head and the stuff that doesn't matter. Like in
Yeah.
reality, if you think about it, 10 years ago, um, you know nothing was like how it is now. You know what I mean? None of
Mm-hmm.
the social media was like how it was back then. And it's just like it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So you just want to keep
Mm-hmm.
it out of your head. Obviously, you want to have a presence. We've talked about this because then you're basically no one. But at the same time, you want to make sure you keep a good percentage of your time not focused on it, so you can almost have that, just like just have it out of your head, the clutter,
Mm-hmm.
and worry about things that are huge in your life.
Yeah, like you said, obviously not worrying is a big thing. Allow your mind to be free. I know
Yeah.
like you talked about that before in one of the All Nightingale talks. You want to let your mind wander. You want to be able to think, and if you're constantly cluttered thinking about things that aren't important, or worrying about things, then you're not free to let your mind think and wander and be creative and
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to be inspired, as you
Totally.
said. So just obviously, just remember this for what we're gonna continue to talk about. Emotions are everything. The way we project ourselves, the way we feel, it drives what we do as human beings. How we think, how we feel, it drives everything that we do. Every action kind of goes back to an emotion, which is how you feel about yourself, and how you feel about a situation, how you look at it, how you adapt to it, all that. So another big thing, relationships. We all know how big relationships are. So whether that's, your intimate relationships, your relationships with your family, your friends, relationships are one of the most important things in life. And being able to have strong relationships is even better. You get a lot of joy and juice from relationships, but then at the same time, you can get a lot of pain from them when stuff doesn't go right or
Mm-hmm.
something goes wrong. So it's important to not dabble in the world of relationships and instead focus, and you want to master that. It's a very big part of your life and you spend a lot of time cultivating relationships. So it's important to master that skill of having strong, meaningful relationships.
Right, and that could be, obviously you can have relationships in business, personal relationships. I mean, just in general, it takes place in both of those. To be
Hmm.
honest, if you're cheating your business relationships, you're really not getting a full side of them, and you're definitely not giving the full side of you towards them. So in reality, that business relationship isn't going to go anywhere. And then with just personal relationships, I would say that's even worse. A lot of pain is going to come from that, whether it's
Hmm.
on your side or their side, and you don't want to hurt anybody. I feel like that's just like, and to know when you're hurting someone too is just, I feel like it's very sad, to be honest.
Yeah. I definitely there's been one relationship for sure in my life, and I'm sure there's another ones that, definitely n- I'm aware like now that maybe I didn't handle a relationship the right way,
Mm-hmm.
looking back at it now, obviously that relationship is kind of over, so there's not really anything you can do about it. But one of the most important things, with like cultivating strong relationships, if there's like a problem or something, you always have to be willing to forgive the person if they hurt you, and then you have to forgive them regardless of then if they forgive you or whatever. But you have to be like the one to forgive.
Yeah.
As long as you can let go of the baggage that relationship caused you, it then allows you to move on from it, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can move on, and you can continue to be happy, you know and like David said, was just kind of like, if you don't focus on it or give it the attention it needs, it kind of goes away. So that's why it's important to make sure that you pay attention to things, and if things don't seem right or the way they are, then you need to get back on board with that. You need to mend the relationship and do whatever it takes to make it to where you feel like it should be and where you want it to be.
Right. And I think forgiving someone, even if they don't forgive you, like you said, is you'll get way more out of it. Even if they don't,
Yeah.
like you'll feel better. You'll feel like
Hmm.
you actually did something for the betterment of yourself. And when you achieve something like that, you get 100% return, man.
Hmm.
ROI, bro. So
Yeah.
I totally get it.
So going into this, so another thing too is when you think about the whole dabbling in things, a lot of people in businesses, if you're starting your own business or just big business in general, a lot of business owners and leaders are just dabblers. They're not really focusing on the big things, and you can see that by the fact that you know 96% of startup businesses and business in general, they don't succeed. You have that select 4 to 5% that do succeed. I know we mentioned those numbers before, about when it comes to people being successful and people creating things. You know, Another thing that like I heard in something else listening to that in today's world, people classify success, even when it comes to business, in terms of like profit wise, is breaking even. But if you're breaking even
Right.
in a business, you're not profitable. You're not being successful. That's that's like the line. You're
Right.
making the minimum. You're not exceeding and getting more. So then you're not really succeeding. But like the standard is, if you're making that line, you got that successful business because you're just functioning in a sense. So
Now let's say your expenses are very low and you're hitting even. Do you think that that would classify as a success? Because you basically aren't putting you're not putting enough into it. Obviously, in percentages. Let's say you put 50% into a business and you break even. Are you still succeeding technically? Because you still have that 50% that's held back, or would you say the opposite?
I definitely think you shouldn't be holding back. If you're trying to be
Okay.
successful, then you can't be holding back, right?
Right.
You're supposed to be going all out here.
Right. You don't want to dabble.
Trying to get, yeah, not do that, and trying to go 100%.
Right. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a point that I highlighted when I was listening to it, that I feel like I'm dabbling, which,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I never thought about it in that scheme of things. The word dabbling is a
Mm-hmm.
strange word that could mean a bunch of things. But when I think of dabbling, and for my situation, I have all these things in place for me to try to start a small business of some
Mm-hmm.
kind. And I just feel like I'm not committing to it, which
Mm-hmm.
would be considered dabbling. And
Yeah.
then if I feel like if I take the energy, especially from listening to this interview, I felt like inspired. Just like go out and just start doing it. Even though
Mm-hmm.
obviously any effort's good effort. And I feel like I was dabbling, so obviously I wanted to start doing that some more. And then to get fulfillment from starting a side business is huge. When you have like something with your name on it, or have
Mm-hmm.
clients that obviously know you and they have a relationship with you, and you're not just messing around with them, obviously it would be great. And then the passive income from that to working a side
Mm-hmm.
business is just as good. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you get what you give, like our
Mm-hmm.
last talk.
Yeah.
And then from
Yes.
then on, I think that would be great. You would feel better. You
Mm-hmm.
would feel accomplished.
Mm-hmm. You'd have by creating that successful business. You have that. You're mastering the science of achievement. You're able to achieve it. You achieve the goal. You get the business going, and then because of its success and how happy you are with it, you're meeting people. You're doing all these great things for your clients, then you feel fulfilled because of it. So again, we'll go a little bit more into that in the future, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
great example of like how you have the achievement side of starting a business and then the after of being fulfilled from it. You're
Right.
happy with what you're doing and you're getting joy from your work. But that's a great point, about the dabbling, just not going all in. One thing that definitely when you listen to more interviews from people, like you talked about impact theory before, I mentioned that, and you listen to people how they talk about starting their businesses and small businesses like that, obviously it's gonna sound washed up or just blah blah blah, but you can do anything you want, you can achieve any goal you set for yourself. That's the reality behind it. But you have to go 110% at it. You can't just, like
Mm-hmm.
David said, kind of just dabble in it until you
Right.
focus everything on it and start doing 100 things to try to make it work. Even if 99 of them don't work, one of them still could and will.
Right.
You have to go and do the 100 things. You can't just do 50 of those things or 10 of those things.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go all out to make it happen. So,
It's good to look at it that way as well.
mhm, yeah, for sure. So, if you're growing, you feel alive. If you're giving, you feel 10 times more alive. So, another big thing, and definitely one of the reasons why I've been reinvigorated when it comes to self development, is the aspect of growing. If you're not learning new things and expanding your knowledge, whether that be like, reading, doing courses, going to school for your career, and whatever, you're not expanding your capacity to do more. You're not adding more value. Like definitely, in my opinion, one thing that gets in today's world when you go to school, get your degree, for a lot of people that's it. They think that's it. But how can you, after you just get that degree, you're what, 20, we'll say 25 years old when you're done with school.
Mm-hmm.
You've got roughly 30, 40 years of work ahead of you, 40 years to 65. If you don't learn anything else within that span of 40 years, then how are you expanding? How are you growing? How are you spending your knowledge? How are you adding more value to anything if you're still sitting with that basic knowledge that you gained at 25?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I just packed up my bookshelf, believe it or
mhm,
not, and when you see, obviously in a bookshelf you see just like the binder or whatever that's called, the bind of the book. I'm not
mhm,
sure if I'm saying that right at all. But then when I packed them up and then actually like lifted it up, like technically that's all some kind of knowledge. I mean, at least from, if you get something from one page, that could
mhm,
be thousands of things.
yeah,
And I have a decently small bookshelf. Obviously, I need a bigger one now. A lot of them are cookbooks, but regardless, a lot of school books as well. I didn't sell any of my
mhm,
school books. People during school would just sell them immediately after class was over, for the semester, and they would go make a quick buck. Because the longer you wait, obviously, the longer, or the smaller of return you get on them, because they start going out of
mhm,
date. I kept them all. I actually have two. I bought books off of my classmates, um, just because I either wanted to keep them or thought I was going to give them to someone else,
mhm,
down the road. And it's huge. It's huge. Knowledge is everything in this world.
yeah. Knowledge is power. You could even say
Mm-hmm.
that's the reality behind it. So, when you're growing and expanding, you feel more alive, you have more energy, you feel more juiced about everything, you
Right.
want to do more, and then you're going to do more. And then obviously the third thing that we mentioned was then giving. Giving and gratitude are huge. One goal that I kind of have, and going forward, I guess this could even be a 30 goals. I'm trying to practice gratitude a lot more. It's something that I've fallen out of in a way. Definitely in the last 5 years since graduating high school. Just to put that into perspective, I used to pray every night before I went to bed for like all of senior year and before that. And then once I moved out and stuff, I did it a little bit, but I basically stopped and haven't done it every day since. So, and thinking about it now and thinking about just like gratitude and being able to pick something every day that you're grateful for and say it out loud to yourself, when you
Mm-hmm.
pray, it's big. And I definitely think that I can see now, thinking of how I feel now and how I felt then, why I kind of feel a little bit less fulfilled now, even with everything that I have done, especially for other people, than I did before, because I'm not thinking about it enough. I'm not practicing that. I'm not practicing gratitude enough.
Word. I Well, would you say gratitude would be thanking, um, like just thank you for being, I guess, walking today? I mean, what do you mean by gratitude exactly? Because obviously you can say thank you to the guy that held the door open for you at the local gas station, but are you just thanking, in general? Like, are you just being having more gratitude towards everything, just like life
Toward
in general?
everything, life in general. You could be grateful for waking up in the morning. You could be grateful for being able to afford eating out today or whatever. Getting to work safely, being able to do what you did today.
Right.
Just anything.
I agree.
You're grateful for. Today I could be grateful for the ability to talk to you right now. And get
Mm-hmm.
to record the show and put it up there for people to see. I'm grateful to have that opportunity.
Right. Okay.
And saying it is big, and then you feel it more.
Right. I totally agree. And
Hmm.
when going back to the giving, would you classify work as that? Because technically, when you're giving someone your time, that's the most valuable thing that you could do for someone.
Yeah,
Obviously, from
I think.
giving them money would be the same, but time,
Hmm.
especially from
Like I
our
said,
last talk.
yeah, I think we've mentioned that, like before, especially when it comes to like giving. If you love what you do, you love giving to your organization, your company, you love your job. Yeah, then you know, that's giving.
Right.
You're giving your service in a sense. Still.
And you
Like I
feel,
said, you could
I
be.
mean, I love what I do, and I'm pretty sure you
Hmm.
love what you do, and I
Hmm.
feel great at work.
Yeah,
And I could imagine if you're giving someone your time that you don't like or don't respect, it could be a little different. You wouldn't get the same enjoyment
yeah.
or like just fulfillment out of it.
Hmm. You definitely take more of that drag towards work instead of being happy or more
Right.
and upbeat about it.
I totally get it. I just wanted to
Hmm.
bring that up. That sounded like a good point to make.
No, that's good. So just gonna be very blunt with this one. The average person is not successful business. The average person is not earning what they want to earn. So we talked about mentioned this before, and it's about people being honest and everyone kind of living behind a facade of how they really feel about things and whatnot. You
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, I'm okay with my job, or I make this, but deep down you want the ability to do more or stuff like that. So it's just it's being honest. We talked about that. You have to be honest with yourself, honest with your situation. That's the only way that you can create the situation that you want. So that's kind of
So when you say
all I
that
gotta
the
say.
average person is not earning what they want to earn, are you saying in general, or are you saying specifically just like a group of people that don't try as much at work, or just at home when they want to do like a passive income business, side business, or just in general?
Like I guess you could say, like, just in general, the people that aren't really doing anything, they're just you know go to work, do their thing, go home or whatever, but they want more or whatever, then they're not willing to go out and get more.
Right, the
Does that make sense?
knowledge or whatever you need prerequisite
Yeah.
wise to
You're sitting
achieve
there
that.
saying, I want this, but then you're not going to go get that. You're not going to do what you have to do to make that happen.
Right. Okay. Totally.
Yeah. So, moment to moment, our life is controlled by our states. If you're thinking in angry state, you're going to respond differently than if you're feeling playful. What controls those states long term is your model of the world and how you see things, your worldview. And I look at it as having as a metric, three things to look at. And those are the things I mentioned at the beginning. I look to see first what your targets are and what you're after. The target is everyone has different goals, dreams, and desires. So, what are you aiming for? Basically, we all have the need for certainty, that we can avoid pain and we can have some pleasure, some comfort. And then we all need uncertainty. We need variety, or we feel dead inside. If you're totally certain, you're bored. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. If you have total variety, you freak out. You got too much going on. You're too worried, bouncing around. And it's not a balance. It's learning which of these you need more of as a person. Everyone has a different set of values in that area. So it's important to know that like when we talk about these 6 human needs, there's 6 things that everyone needs, but you as the individual may value certain things over others, and you may need certain things over others. But it's all about having that balance between things.
Right.
So the
Did you
need for
think?
significance. So these 6 things: the need for significance, to feel unique, special, important; the need to feel love; the need to grow; and then the need to contribute. So
Oh, cool.
we're gonna go through the 6 of these real quick. I'm gonna read out just a kind of a description of them, and these descriptions are from Tony Robbins' book titled "Money Master the Game." So that's where I got pulled these from. But also in the video, he kind of does a brief talk of what they are. But I'm just gonna read out the writing form, because when I read this in the book, it described it really good. So your first need is certainty and comfort. The first human need is the need for certainty. It's our need to feel in control and to know what's coming next so we can feel secure. It's the need for basic comfort, the need to avoid pain and stress, and also to create pleasure. Does this make sense? Our need for certainty is a survival mechanism. It affects how much risk we're willing to take in our life, in our jobs, in our investments, and our relationships. The higher the need for certainty, the less risk you'll be willing to take or emotionally bear. By the way, this is where the real risk tolerance comes from. But what if you're totally certain all the time? If you knew what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and how it was going to happen. You knew what people were going to say before they say it, how would you feel? At first you'd feel extraordinary, but eventually you'd be what? Bored out of your mind. So certainty, obviously important. You want to be certain about what you're doing. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? You want to have the structure to that in life, and that's kind of like where certainty comes in. So the second need is uncertainty and variety. So the opposite, basically. So God, in her infinite wisdom, gave us a second human need, which is uncertainty. We need variety. We need a surprise. Let me ask you a question. Do you like surprises? If you answered yes, you're kidding yourself. You like the surprises you want. The ones you don't want, you call problems. But you still need them to put some muscle in your life. You can't grow muscle or character unless you have some pushback against you. So obviously, like you said, you need certainty, but then you also need a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of variety, and not knowing what's going to happen. Just to kind of keep, like you say, keep things fresh, and then so when something does happen, you can learn, and then you can grow from it, become a better person.
He described it as in the interview. He described it as uncomfortable, which is a good point to make as well. Because
Yeah.
obviously you grow from uncomfortableness or
Mhm.
just in general being uncomfortable, which is a
Mhm.
good thing. And it was weird because when you look at the first one, certainty and comfort. Obviously, everyone wants comfort and like creature comforts. You know what I mean? Like, just being at the house, obviously being stable and everything of
Mhm.
that. But then he also goes in, which I thought was very like eye opening to me, was uncertainty, not knowing.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's almost like you're kind of making yourself stress on purpose,
Yeah.
but you can grow, and this is how he described it. You can grow from that way
Mhm.
more than if you were just going to be comfortable or certain in that general sense, which is great. And I really like how he talks about that also. And the next one that you're going to say is one of my favorites as well.
Mhm. No, I definitely like that, like being uncomfortable. Like you have to be uncomfortable to go. You have to I like using like talking to people and being uncomfortable with like going and saying hi to someone, right?
Hmm.
That's like the easiest way to feel uncomfortable. And most people, almost everyone feels uncomfortable with like doing that, right?
Totally agree.
So until you go out there and you do it and you maybe meet someone while you do that, like, don't you feel so much better at the end of it? But if
Right.
you're going to fight for the certainty, you're going to avoid that situation, you know?
And
So
then you're going to
yeah.
think about what would happen if you did say hi or if you strung up a conversation
Hmm.
with anyone, really. You're going to
Yeah.
wonder, why didn't I do that? What would I got
Hmm.
out of it? Anything like that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. The third is significance. That basic human need that drove Adolf Merkel. We all need to feel important, special, unique, or needed. So how do some of us get significance? You can get it by earning billions of dollars or collecting academic degrees, distinguishing yourself with a master's or PhD. You can build a giant Twitter following, or you can go on The Bachelor or become one of the next Real Housewives of Orange County. Some do it by putting tattoos and piercings all over themselves and in places we don't want to know about. You can get significance by having more or bigger problems than anybody else. You think your husband's a dirtbag? Take mine for a day. Of course, you can also get it by being more spiritual or pretending to be. Unfortunately, one of the fastest ways to get significance that costs no money and requires no education is through violence. If someone puts a gun to your head, in that instant, he becomes the most significant thing in your life, right? Spending a lot of money can make you feel significant, and so can spending very little. We all know people who constantly brag about their bargains or who feel special because they heat their homes with cow manure and sunlight. Some very wealthy people gain significance by hiding their wealth, like the late Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, and for a time the richest man in America, who drove around Bentonville, Arkansas in his old pickup truck, demonstrating he didn't need a Bentley, but of course, he did have his own private fleet of jets standing by. Significance is also a moneymaker. It's where my dear friend Steve Wine has made his fortune. The man who made Las Vegas what it is today knows people will pay for anything they believe is the best. Anything that makes them feel special, unique, or important. Anything that makes them stand out from the crowd. He provides the most expensive, luxurious experiences imaginable. In his casinos and hotels, they are truly magnificent and unmatched in the world. He's got a nightclub called XS. What else? That is the hottest spot in Las Vegas. Even on a weeknight, it has a line out the door. Once you're in, you have the privilege of purchasing an ordinary bottle of champagne for $700. Or if you want to step up and show everyone you're a player, you can spend $10,000 for a special one cocktail of rare vintage cognac and fresh orange juice that comes from a white gold necklace. Hey, it comes to your table with a sparkler, just so everybody knows you're significant and out of your mind. So, obviously, significance is a big thing, and like you talk about, money or why you do things. You do it because of how it makes you feel it and how other people will look at you because of that. How significant you'll feel to them.
Right, and I like how he gave examples of both
Mm-hmm.
in the book. I didn't get to see the book part, but now that we're reading it, I like how he gives both for the main reason. You can do both. You can do either one and still feel significant. Obviously, if you spend a lot of money, you're kind of like wasting in a way. Obviously, if you get a lot of enjoyment out of it and you want people to see and film and do whatever, take pictures of it, and somehow you get a huge fulfillment out of that. Totally. Obviously, if you do it the other way, I feel like you might get a little more out of it, to be honest. Save money, spend less. Just in general, I feel like you might get more out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it all depends. And like you talk about the need, like that's why some people spend crazy amounts of money on things. So, it makes them feel good because of how then people see them. If you see someone driving around in a fancy car, you automatically think, wow, that's awesome. That guy's probably doing really well. He probably feels, great or whatever. But in reality, you really don't know what's going on besides that. Like that could just be a facade to make him feel significant, to make him look good in a sense, right?
Or he's renting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, it's everyone does different things to feel, to different ways, and significance is important. Almost everything that we do is based off of how we want people to view us and how we want people to feel about us, and that's what drives what we do, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the fourth need is love and connection. Love is the oxygen of life. It's what we all want and need most. When you love completely, we feel alive. But when we lose love, the pain is so great most people settle on connection, the crumbs of love. You can get that sense of connection, of love through intimacy or friendship or prayer or walking in nature. If nothing else works, you can get a dog. These first four needs are all what I call needs of the personality. We all find ways to need these, whether by working harder, coming up with a big problem, or creating stories to rationalize them. The last two are the needs of spirit. These are more rare. Yeah, these are more rare. Not everyone meets these. When you need, when these needs are met, we will truly feel fulfilled. So I think David, you can agree just as well as with me that love and connection is, very important. Feeling loved by
Yep.
your friends and family. It's it's awesome to, have that in life. It's almost even hard to like hard to describe. You know, One thing that definitely I cherish when it comes to love is I will say it from like the rooftops, just how like loving and caring my childhood was and like my family is.
Hmm.
It's the environment is like, just unmatched in my opinion. And
Unconditional love is good too.
yeah, yeah, unconditional love. Regardless of what happens, what you do, they're always there for you and they will always love you. And it's just such an immense feeling.
I thought it was funny how he brought up a dog. Obviously, you can get it from several things, like you said, intimacy, friendship, prayer, walking in nature. And if nothing else works, get a dog. I mean, obviously, if you're friendly to the dog and you brought it up from a pup, unconditional. I mean, they're gonna be all over you like
Hmm.
just not like it's nothing. They'll lick your face off. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're the
And some
most
people need
important thing
that.
in that dog's world.
Exactly, and you care for them, and they care for you just as much, even though
Hmm.
they don't really understand fully the situation, obviously. But they're very one minded, and some dogs they'll protect you,
Hmm.
and that's amazing. You can't get that out of another person unless you're obviously like friends, families, and it's unconditional, man. I say my family is almost too unconditional. You know what I mean? Like you could probably agree with your parents. Like they almost try too much or too hard to make sure that you're always, well fed and just set up for whatever you want to do in life. And it's amazing. It really is.
Hmm. Yeah, like always looking out for like you and what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So into the spiritual needs, then the two of them. So five is growth. Number five is growth. If you're not growing, you're what? You're dying. If a relationship is not growing, if a business is not growing, if you're not growing, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, how many friends you have, how many people love you, you're not going to experience real fulfillment. And the reason we grow, I believe, is so we have something of value to give. So we talked about growth earlier and the importance of if you're not growing, you're not expanding, you're not adding more value, you're not able to feel fulfilled. You're not going to achieve anything, so you're not be able to get anything back from it, and you're just not going anywhere almost. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have ambitions or desires to do more, then you're just not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Knowledge. I mean, just reading a book, a couple pages a day, could give you that growth that you need on a weekly basis, daily basis, and sometimes just getting more connections, networking, obviously on
Hmm.
social media or just in general. Going to, like a conference like you did.
Hmm.
That's growth. I mean, anything of that nature will help you go forward in life.
Very true, very true. So the sixth and final need is contribution. The sixth basic need is contribution. Corny as it may sound, the secret to living is giving. Life's not about me, it's about we. Think about it. What's the first thing you do when you get good or exciting news? You call somebody you love and share it. Sharing enhances everything you experience. Life is really about creating meaning, and meaning does not come from what you get, it comes from what you give. Ultimately, what you get will never make you happy long term, but who you become and what you contribute will. So, I definitely like never really thought about how big contribution was until I like see it and read about it,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of what I've done in like the last 3 years has been all about like trying to just like give and provide experiences for my friends and like create environments that are like fun to be in and fun things to do and stuff like that. to where no one has to really worry about anything. I take care of everything, and everyone just gets to have a good time. I create the experiences and stuff like that for them, and it just brings so much joy and happiness to me to see everyone having that good time.
I totally agree. And you do a really good job about this, especially from times that I've had with you and your friends and our friends and stuff like that. When you have a contribution, I guess, whether it's either like at church if you're tithing, or just bringing everyone together for a friendsgiving, a party, someone's birthday, and you're
Hmm.
contributing that to them, to the people and the people that are coming. I could imagine that in your case, that you feel amazing in a way that you're taking care of everything and you're getting the silent like fulfillment back.
Hmm.
Even though everyone there is still getting fulfillment of being there and socializing and having a good time, you're still getting that little extra bit of contribution that you put in. And
Hmm.
obviously, you get what you give, so you're getting almost twice as much back, which is
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's corny at all, to be honest. And I think it's a great thing. You should always give. You should always keep giving, and just be a positive person when you do it.
Yeah. No, no, for sure. That's great. So, like we mentioned, everyone values certain ones of these things over whatever. Everyone focuses on different things. Everyone puts certain values over whatever. So it's important that when you think about these six human needs, that you figure out what things that kind of push you more and push you less, and then kind of figure out like how to balance them. So just simple example, I definitely feel that certainty controls a lot more of my life than other things. So I need to strive to try to be less certain, have less certainty, and then a little bit more uncertainty in things. Take more chances when it comes to things, or just go all out and commit to something regardless of like what's going to happen with it. Take the risk. Take the uncertainty. Be uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
with that, and let it happen instead of trying to be certain about it and just assume that XYZ may happen.
And so, would you say that when you're uncertain about a situation, would you say it's more engaging towards you? Like, would you try to do that over something that you're certain about, or would be vice versa in your case?
um I think that's a good point. I think like if I'm if I have to create the uncertain like situation, or like the thing that you like the situation that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel I would strafe more towards certainty. But if
Right.
someone else were to create the uncertain situation for me, like say, okay, come do this, or come here with me, or whatever with this, I'm more likely to say, yeah, I'll be there,
Right.
instead of me saying, come do this this different thing,
Right.
I'll, I'd rather just, I'd more or less not even propose the uncertain thing,
Okay.
if
Now,
that
do you
makes
feel like
sense.
you're going to try to work on that more, or do you feel like just that's how you are, or
No, it's definitely something I need to work on. Like I said, like listening to this of course again and reading it about it again, it's just like I do a decent job, I feel, of balancing out everything else,
mm-hmm.
in the long run. But when it comes to like the certainty and uncertainty thing, I know that I do a lot. I focus more on certainty than uncertainty, and the balance isn't there. It's an unhealthy balance. So I definitely feel and know that I miss out and am missing out on things because I don't take the shot or just take the uncertain path, and be uncomfortable with it.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So this is kind of cool. I really like this passage right here. So everyone wants love. What do you focus on? Most people focus on being significant. You mentioned how big significant is. We live in a Facebook world where people fake their life, put new filters, make it look different than it really is, tell stories that are totally full of it to make themselves look good.
I think what he's trying to say there is because when someone gets like a like on Facebook or a like on Instagram or a retweet or a comment on a video, it's almost like a false sense of, especially when you're trying to tell like a facade or have a facade. I feel like you're getting more out of it because you almost fooled someone in a way. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they totally know that, like, I have this puppy and I really don't have this puppy. You know what I mean? And it's like a weird, like, facade thing. And I don't like when people do that. I like just originality, but in a way of truthfulness and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So like the living in a false world where significance is more important than love. So what you're doing that to feel significant instead of, what could I be doing to get love from someone
Mm-hmm.
or out of the situation? You know what I mean? Like true love. I'm driven more by significance than, you know, love. Having a loving relationship instead of like a significant relationship. I guess you
Right.
can even like something like that. Even it's kind of like interesting to think about.
Now,
So
what do you
and
what do
that
you what's the basis on true love in your definition?
I definitely think being able to love someone unconditionally, being able to support, regardless, accept someone for their flaws, but also like be able to acknowledge, like everyone's able to acknowledge, they're able to acknowledge them, you're able to acknowledge your own flaws, you're able to like work on yourself and stuff. You know, honesty is obviously very important, open and honest, and just be accepting of someone, obviously for like, who they are.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I de- that's caught me off guard there. I've like since I've not been in like a relationship in like three three plus years, like I just think of like unconditionally conditional love and stuff like that. Like between like, what I have with my family. Like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about like love in a relationship in forever, because I don't know if it's because I haven't been in one, so I haven't like not experiencing it again to like think
Right.
about it, but maybe it's because I messed up so hard the last time that not knowing even like what I was doing wrong completely the last time, to like know
Right.
how to get better. Like that's why like honesty is important. I watched actually something that was really interesting. Actually, it might have been when I was one of the speakers at the Summit of Greatness that I was at, but he was talking about relationships and like the loving thing, like you said. And obviously, honesty is important, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to actually be honest. So like if you don't like something that your significant other is doing, you get to say something about it. You can't give signs and then when they don't get
Passive
it,
aggressive.
be mad at them because they didn't understand your weird sign or whatever.
Right.
Like uh it was interesting because obviously like women and men are very different when it comes to like how they express themselves. So
Yep.
like women process things a lot faster, and like if they the second they see you, they judge you and have an idea of like what you're thinking and what's going on just
Right.
by how
Body
you just like
language.
how you look, right? Yeah, your body language. Where
Yeah.
guys really don't pick that up as much. Like, David could be given like kind of just like getting back, looking like I don't like little back or whatever,
Yeah.
but he just might mean like I want to do this or that, but because of his face, I'm not really getting what that means. But to
I
him,
totally agree.
his body language makes perfect sense. Like this is what I want and this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the way I'm picking that up is like, I don't really know what's going on here.
But I totally get what you're saying. And I've been in several long term relationships, which is not a good thing. I think if you're going to date someone for a long period of time, you should be eventually, trying to have a future with them, or at least, I don't know, in a weird way, you want to get something out of it without just being, you know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
body language thing, going back to that, especially when you know you're going to be with someone for a long time, or at least you hope so, and at least the other
Hmm.
person hopes so as well. You know for a fact, even though there's like a little disagreement or argument about something, regardless of the situation, you always know that you're going to find an end point and you're going to hopefully enjoy each other's time again. And
Hmm.
obviously, if you guys break up, totally fine. That's life. But with the body language thing, I feel like it's better to know the other person's body language more than they do, and then to have them be able to talk to you, whether that's about a uncomfortable situation or
Hmm.
comfortable situation, and you want them to be open and honest with you so
Yeah.
you can be open and honest with them. So when you
Yeah.
have two people going against each other, you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, or the wick, or
Yeah.
and you
Hmm.
really just want to make sure that both people are on the same page regardless. And if you have an argument, or if you're going to have an argument in the future, just know that you guys can do that, but know that there's going to be an endpoint where you guys come together and rethink the situation or find another way to do it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. No, like you said, it definitely the whole like being honest and like equal. Like you have to. It's a give and take. You know what I mean? Like if you're not open, then they're not going to be open. But if they're not open, then you're not going to want to be open.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to like agree. To say like I want in this relationship, I want to get honesty out of it. We have to be honest. So if you feel this way, you have to just say it. I'm not gonna think anything differently here. I want you to be honest. I want to know what's going on, and then by that happening, then you're gonna do it. And vice versa. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the give and take.
I totally agree. Healthy relationships, well, I guess having significance in a relationship is more important than having a just a relationship in general,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And you want to make sure that you guys are both benefiting from it, whether that is on a personal level, business level, or just an emotional level. I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
So
know. I don't know what started that tangent about relationships, but
no, the whole like significance. Just the world we live in.
yes.
Everyone doing things a lot more for significance. Instead of like going for getting love out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I 'cause I definitely think I can definitely feel a more like that's why some relationships don't last long because it's more of a significance thing. You know, you want a relationship to feel significant or to be like everyone else when
Mm-hmm.
really it's not what you want or you haven't found like the loving one that you want. You know what I mean? So
I totally agree.
definitely see that. An extraordinary life is a life on your terms. So one thing that I guess going kind of continuing on and going in, I've always said it's my biggest thing for me has always been every day to be able to do what I want to do, whenever I want to do it, regardless of where I'm at or what's going on. So that's always been like a big goal for me, and that's in my eyes, being able to live life on my terms. The second thing of the three things that we're going to talk about, skill of the science of achievement. So the ability to manifest what you come up with and make it real in your real like you've done with your company. That's a skill set. So like you set a goal and you make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's achieving something. That is the science of achievement. It's as simple as that.
Now, when he says science, does he? I know he broke it down a little bit in the video in the interview. Did he go further into that into his book, the science? Because usually a science is more or less like a for sure thing, like it's been proven, it's been hypothesized and then tested. I'm
I
assuming
think
he
you think of it just
has.
like you said. Think of it like the skill set. So like so let's just go. So science achievement. How do I take what I envision and make it real? Uh, how will I do it quicker, faster, better, easier? How will I get it done? So, uh, spent he spent an unbelievable amount of time helping people do things faster, quicker, better, showing them shortcuts, teaching them strategies, modeling what works, so you can save time. So it's all about just like getting things done. How are you achieving things? What are you learning? How are you solving a problem? How you getting things done. That's the science of something. Just like
Mm,
a scientific equation, you're solving this with this. That's the science. Does that make
right.
sense?
Yeah, that is. And I
So
thought it
and
was
then the
crazy
second.
too. Pardon me. 50 million people. Obviously, when you do a large seminar, uh, and I know he does thousands of people at once,
Mm-hmm.
but 50 million people, obviously getting hopefully pointers from each one he does. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And his books obviously
Okay.
reach farther than his seminars.
Yeah, like I said, Tony Robbins is definitely someone. He's been around in this. He's been this for a long time, and the amount of like I said, the amount of energy that he puts into like his beliefs and when he talks and his presentations and his seminars, conferences, and stuff. It's extraordinary. That amount of energy and stuff that like goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So the second skill, the art of fulfillment. If what if what you want, if you want an extraordinary life, you can't just achieve. You got to be fulfilled. As simplistic as that sounds, but it is an art. It's not a science. It's a science to making money. Come on, any age, any color, any background, any gender. If you do these things, you'll have an abundance of money. You do these things, you're gonna have too much money, and at the end of money, financial stress. Right? Everybody's biochemically different, but you and I both know There's fundamental rules, laws. There's a science of the body. You violate that science, you're gonna have disease. You're gonna have low energy. If you align with that, you're gonna have an abundance of energy. It's gonna affect everything in your life. It's a science. It's like if you think about it like that when it comes to like being fit, being like fit and healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a science to do that. You know what I mean? Like you eat XYZ, you know, because it's good for you, and then you exercise by doing XYZ because that, you know, gives you energy, makes you feel good, you know, keeps your weight in check and in shape, right? You do these things, you're gonna be in shape, right?
Right.
That's the science. You know what I mean? You do these things with your business will be successful. You know, if you do these things to plan for your future, you're gonna have financial freedom in the future, independence. You know, you do these things, it's gonna happen. That's the science part of it.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that when he says the art of fulfillment and the science of achievement, these kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, it's almost like one thing to kind of lead to another. Like, so you could, like we talk about goals, right? You can achieve anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could get all the money. You could get your business, right? You talk about starting something. So you got your small business, right? You did it. You got this going. But then at the end of the day, like you're not happy at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like you did all this, you know, all these great things, but you're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
You achieved your goal, your small business, but then you didn't get out of it what you thought you wanted, so you're not fulfilled, right?
Right.
I I moved out, maybe you could think, or I have my own house now, and you know I paid for all this stuff off or whatever. You know, let's say I paid the credit cards off, I paid the mortgage off, but I'm not I don't feel any different. You know, I don't feel happy that I did that. It's just I'm not fulfilled. You know, I didn't how I got there wasn't good. It wasn't like a fulfilling journey or whatever. You know, just you did it to do it. You know, I did
Right.
it because I had to get it done. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get it done. I think
Totally.
that's a kind of like a blunt way, I guess, of saying it, but that's how I think of it.
No, I don't think it's blunt. I think it depends on what you think fulfillment is.
Mm-hmm.
And I could imagine it could be small things, large things, medium sized things. I would say I think moving out from your parents' house is a huge fulfillment,
Mm-hmm.
obviously because you're kind of on your own rules and you're on your own
Mm-hmm.
schedule now. But there's also things you have to worry about, like making sure that power's on, making sure there's
Mm-hmm.
food in the fridge, something like that. You know what I mean? Water the plants if you got any that you normally wouldn't worry about when you're living at your parents'.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that little things like that you could get fulfillment out of. Oh, I am watering my plants, or yes,
Mm-hmm.
the power's on, or yes, it's clean. You know, that could be a huge thing. Laundry's done, dishes are done, and I think what you're saying with fulfillment, with your when you're paying off credit cards, mortgage, just financial burden of buying a house initially,
Mm-hmm.
with the down payment and stuff like that, whether it's 20%, 3%, 5%. And I recently looked into this as well when I was looking into real estate and getting a mortgage. What you have to put up front for that place or for that real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite stressful. It's quite stressful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it definitely can be, especially if you haven't done it before and you don't know what to look for. You know, haven't had any
Mm-hmm.
help and stuff like that. Definitely, without a doubt. So, fulfillment is as different as we are as human beings. So, so most people think, well, I want to get that because they're modeling somebody else, and that might work on how to achieve something, but it will never work for what will fulfill you. How many people do you know like you got what you thought you wanted and you weren't fulfilled in that? I always tell people success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. The ultimate failure. Because if you go at something and you fail, you're an achiever. You don't fail, you're like, I learned something. We talked about that earlier. Well, just try something else. I'm still going to get there, but when you succeed and you're not happy, you're technically screwed, right?
Yep.
It's like you did it, you got the goal, and then nothing. So I'm actually gonna read this script. I thought I was wondering if I should include this or not, but being as you asked the difference between the science and the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, I think
Mm-hmm.
this is a great example of the difference between the two, and it's something that I would say almost everyone can relate to, or is aware of. So, uh, I mentioned in the seminar, uh, you were there, so that's talking to the person who's interviewing, because it hit me about a year and a month ago when we lost what I consider our national treasure, Robin Williams. I asked people, how many of you love Robin Williams? Everyone raised their hand all around the world. Many people laughed. People were touched by him. So how good was he at the science of achievement? I mean, he wanted to be a great comedian, make the world laugh. He did. He wanted to have his own TV show. He did. He wanted a number one show. He did. He wanted to make movies. He did. He wanted to have an Academy Award for not being funny, dramatic, and he did. He wanted a beautiful family. He achieved everything, and he hung himself. And I know recently someone saying, he had dementia and he had drug abuse and he had alcohol abuse, though most of his life because he made everybody happy with whom? Himself.
Himself.
That's the ultimate failure, right? So that, I think that kind of puts in perspective when you think about that. You think of someone who did all these good things in the world and everyone, you see it, but then you never thought about, how that person was doing internally, inside, what was making him tick. Was he really happy with what was going on, and was he happy with himself? So I think that kind of helps put it into perspective.
Right, someone that could have everything and achieve everything he wanted to, and ultimately just, ending his life in a way that he did was very sad. But sometimes people don't see the way out, like they don't see a way out of their situation, and obviously for him it was a different way than where people would see, asking for help, getting help from a therapist or family members, stuff like that. And it's very sad. But to know that you at least fulfilled what you wanted to accomplish while you're alive, I could only imagine what he was going through with the internal struggles. And I'm glad that you brought this up, because this part in the video, or at least in the interview, I like how he kind of worded it in a way where it was like he was almost looking at him as like a role model, but then ending it on the way that he did, which was very sad as well. But in reality, he was giving a great point, because Robin Williams did everything that he wanted, but still couldn't see the ultimate goal or ultimate fulfillment from that.
Yeah,
you gotta think about it in that way as well.
Yeah, doing like, you could think of it like, he did all these things for everyone. He took care of everyone, but in the day, what was the one person he never took care of? Himself.
Exactly.
Right. So
I think the interviewer said that with him as well, which was quite cool. I don't know if he put that in his book or not.
So, I believe our lives are controlled by one force: decisions. I think everyone can kind of relate to that one. But I also believe it gives us choices and decisions, and the decisions we make control us much more than the conditions we meet. It's not the conditions, it's your decisions. Decisions to what to believe, decisions what to do, decisions what to give. No matter what happens, you're going to live in a beautiful state. So the decision to say, I'm not going to suffer, that if suffering arises, pain is one thing, suffering is another. So I love the whole idea behind decisions and choices and how you react to things. I love saying this, like, almost for like in a work environment, when people get frustrated with things or whatever, especially when things are out of their control, right? But they're still affected by it in a way that makes no sense, because it's something that's completely out of your control. So how can you be like negative with that when you had no control about it? So, decide to be okay with it. Don't let that bother you or whatever. It's decide to be the better person, decide to be happy, decide to be in a good mood, to be in a beautiful state, as Tony said. Choose to live that way. Make the decision to do that. I love the idea behind like the difference between pain and suffering. Something that I heard a long time ago and still resonates with me. Uh, pain pain is temporary. It doesn't last.
Hmm.
It goes away. You work through pain, and at the end of pain is a reward. You know, so I just think that's really something to like.
Do you know what's his Boggins?
David Goggins.
David Goggins. Man, he's my
Yep.
own name and I can't remember. I don't think he like made that quote popular. What you were just saying, but he definitely he lives by that, and I
Hmm.
find him very inspiring. And I've seen several podcasts, and I think he does a podcast as well. I'm not entirely sure, but it's crazy. And when you were saying something about pain and to accept the things you cannot change, uh, when I was younger, I was kind of forced to go to these meetings, AA meetings, NA meetings, regardless. But their big thing was the Serenity Prayer, um, and it goes as follows: God grant me the serenity, accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's several more to that, but the wisdom to know the difference is the main point I want to point out. Um,
Hmm.
just know just know that you know that people aren't going to do everything that you want, but in the end just kind of forget about it. I mean, there's no reason to worry about it. Just and obviously have the courage to do things to change the things you can is
Hmm.
very important as well.
Hmm.
And it's a great thing to live by. Grandmother before she died gave a prayer to me in a keychain size, and I love it. I think about it every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that specific prayer, um, because you just have to know, and if you don't know, then you're kind of in the dark about people and how they feel and how they look and how they act affecting you, when in
Hmm.
reality it shouldn't. What do you
No,
think about
I
that?
like that a lot. That's really cool that you have that, and that that's like always like a almost like a constant reminder. You know,
Exactly.
pain is there, but it's not suffering. You can choose to stay in suffering instead of seeking help or trying to being living in that beautiful state and not being upset or being down with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Hmm. So think of it like this: you can end suffering. Stop focusing on yourself and focusing on something you want to serve greater than yourself. Your children, your wife, your mission, your life. You can get out of it in an instant because the nature of the human mind is to constantly compare things. Your brain is a 2 million year old device. It's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. And that's why it's always looking for what's wrong. Now people are worried about what people think of them, or do they have enough money? When 2/3 of the planet lives off of $2 a day and you're making $38,000, you're rich. It's like that's always something that's like really interesting, like to think about when this is how I get myself out of like if I ever like find myself suffering, you could even say, or like just really like feeling down about like what's going on, or just like not in a positive or beautiful state.
Mm-hmm.
I always just compare, like think of like everything, practice the gratitude, right? Think of everything that you have, right? And it's when you realize that and you think more of like why you do what you do, and what you're striving for, you can get right out of that state because you realize that you have so much, and there's so much to be grateful for, and you have so much abundance, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're going towards what you want. And that's like just you can end it right then and there
Right.
just by thinking about those things.
I recently just lost a ton of sleep. To be honest, I couldn't sleep, and it was
Mhm.
very sad because when you want to go to sleep and you can't, you just like it almost is worse. You
Mhm.
think about more things in a negative attitude, and you have a great way to do that where you just kind of you didn't really say compare yourself, but you're kind of like I compare myself to the worst person in the world, or just like let's say the poorest, or just less
Mhm.
fortunate, in
Yeah.
a better term, and then just realizing what you have
Mhm.
is is what you wanted, or at least what
Yeah.
you deserve. And I wish I would have thought it like that. It was all in my head, obviously. And then when you're laying down in bed, you're kind of thinking like more, because
Hmm.
you're trying to go to bed and then you just can't, and then it's just like a vicious cycle of
Hmm.
just nonsense that really shouldn't be going on in your head. But obviously, when it's happening, you kind of worry about it more.
Yeah.
Um, and I totally get it, man. I totally get it.
No, no, that's really cool. It's great to like see that like connection and that it,
Hmm.
it makes sense and it's like it's there. So you always remember life is short. We don't know how short it's going to be, but if we only have a week to live, I bet you won't allow yourself to suffer over little crap that makes you crazy normally. So why wait? Why wait to just, be happy all the time, be a better person, smile, do the right thing, why wait? Life is full of uncertainty, but here's what you can know. You can decide no matter what happens that you're going to have a great time. If someone like Viktor Frankl can be locked up in Auschwitz and come out of that and experience finding joy in the middle of Auschwitz, then human beings have the capacity they've undersold themselves on. We can think we can think the outside world determines how we feel. If people have to behave in a certain way, if your husband, your wife, your kids, or your coworkers or whoever, your boss has to behave a certain way for you to be happy, and if they don't, you're unhappy. That's like that's crazy, right? To think that people let their outside circumstances so much control how they feel.
Right.
So, uh, Viktor Frankl is the author of a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It's a very powerful book, and it talks about his experience through the Holocaust and through being a prisoner at Auschwitz, which is one of the worst Nazi concentration camps that
Hmm.
existed in the time. And definitely recommend reading that book. It changes your perspective when you think about the world and viewing things from the outside in. You know, you have to choose how you react to things, and you can't let other people decide that for you. You know, if everyone's in a bad mood at work, you can't let that make you be in a bad mood. You can't let them control how you feel. You're in
Right.
control of how you feel. If you let your circumstances control how you feel, you're always going to feel bad in a sense. You know what I mean? You're always going to let what's going on around you get to you and affect you in a negative way. You're never going to feel good about anything or about what's going on.
I don't.
You're choosing to be like that.
Right. And I don't like when people say the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows, because it almost seems like they're having a negative outlook on life. When in reality, as long as you stay positive
Mm-hmm.
and think the best of a situation, it is sunshine and rainbows,
Mm-hmm.
even at the
Yeah.
worst of times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just I feel like when people say that, it's almost like they hate's a very strong word, but they hate their situation, so they're projecting it onto you, and you kind of have to decipher whether that's worth it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very strange. And I will check out that book,
Yeah.
because that sounds like
I
a
like
good
what
one.
you said there. It's definitely like how you look at it. You know what I mean? And it's all on the outlook, and you have to choose the right outlook.
Hmm.
So decide today, and actually say, what if I cut it off? What if I said I'm not willing to settle, and I'm just going to live in a beautiful state? So we talked about that. You are in control, and you have to go out there and do it. You have to decide to make it happen. Uh, so we'll say, I'm on a mission to help people end suffering. But what the hell is success? Is success? Hitting an expectation. I will always tell people, man, trade your expectations for appreciation. It's a whole new world instantly. If you can't appreciate this moment, if you can't find ecstasy in this moment, in a conversation with a friend, or looking in your wife's eyes, being with your children, going on a run, if you can't find ecstasy now, I'm here to tell you more money, more people, more love, more business, more anything is not going to give you more. If you can't do it here and now, you're not going to do it. Do it then when you've got more. So I do it now and have a rich life right now. I tell people money is one thing. Having financial abundance, these are skills. That's a science. With wealth, it's a decision. It's like you can be wealthy right now. And I love that. It's definitely, and it's another thing you also have to remember. Like, it's, being in a way, I don't want to say happy with where you are. Because you should always strive to become more and be better and have more. But you can choose to be abundant and live in a beautiful state in life, right now. Because if you're not happy with what's going on right now, there's no guarantee, excuse me, there's no guarantee that you're going to be happy when you get everything that you think you want.
Right.
You talked about that before when you hit that goal, and it's just like you're just checking it off. Oh, okay, that's done. On to the next thing. So, well, how do you feel now? You should feel good now that you did that. You worked so hard to make it happen. So it's all about being fulfilled at the end. And if you can't be fulfilled right now with what you're doing, having this conversation, making this happen, if it's not what you want to do, then, you know, when it becomes successful, you're definitely not going to feel fulfilled, because when you're in the moment doing it, you're not happy with it. You're not fulfilled with what you're doing.
I think it's a good thing to think about too. When you think about your situation and where you're at in life, and just think positively about it, you could literally have nothing and still be positive. Like, to know that there's always an upside to things, or there is a exponential growth to things, is huge. Whether that is, trying to get more monetary value, whether it's money, fame. Obviously, he mentions businesses, so he's in a plural sense saying someone has a business, probably makes a decent amount of money off the first business,
Hmm.
and then wants more, and then doesn't get happiness from it. That's someone that really needs to sit back and look at his life and renegotiate what his standards of fulfillment are.
Hmm.
Because obviously, no amount of money for that guy is going to change the way he feels about his life.
Uh-huh.
Because if you have more than one business and have all these employees, you need to be making sure that everyone's taken care of, and even more yourself.
Hmm.
It's huge.
Yeah. No, definitely. I definitely see that. You have, like you said, you evaluate, what it means to you, and make sure that with what you're doing, you're getting that joy out of it. And if you're not getting that joy, well, then it's probably, and obviously, you could say, isn't what you want to be doing. You know what I mean? That's the easiest way to like check that you're on the path, right? Is to, if you're happy with what's going on, and if you wake up every day and you're happy and you're juiced and you're ready to go, then you're on the path. If you're doing something and you're enjoying doing it and you want to do it, if you're fulfilled while you're doing it, then you're on the path. You're doing, the right thing, right? So,
I totally agree.
just have this, in closing with that, just have it now. Why wait? Why not choose to live in a wonderful state and have wealth and abundance right now? Why not choose to be a better person, like we talked about before?
And if
Why wait to do it?
and if you're not happy about where you're at, what could you do differently to make yourself happy or
Hmm.
feel fulfilled? And I think, for my understanding, for where I'm at, I feel great. I mean, there's obviously more that I could be doing and more that I want to be doing, but you have to understand, with your situation right now, you
Hmm.
gotta love what you do, or at least have some sort of passion for what you're doing and what you're trying to strive for, or it's
Hmm.
really not going to be worth it in the long run for you, and you're just kind of wasting your time.
Yeah. No,
So
I
do
like
it.
that. Yeah. It's almost just like, if like sometimes, this is how I always think, like when I kind of get off the bandwagon of like, I think I want to do something more, like I could be doing this now instead of this, whatever, because I forget like why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, already kind of with school, it's just like, man, I don't know if I really want to, like, I don't know if this is really like if I want to do this or whatever. But then it's like when I think about it again, it's like, oh wait, yeah, I do want to do this, because in 5 or 6 years when I'm done, I'm gonna be able to move out of Ohio and move somewhere else to a new environment, which is something I really want to do. I, I want to be able to move, and this is the journey to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Making this happen provides like a guaranteed, job and better income, and just a great opportunity that, and that's what I want to do.
Totally.
So I have, it keeps you on the path when you think that, is this really is this really what I want to do? I don't know if this is for me, but it's like, yeah, it is for me because this is what I want to do. And this is exactly how I'm going to do it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Got it all planned out, which is good.
Hmm.
It's good to have that, or at least have an understanding on where you want to go.
Hmm.
I think we preach, man. We preach short-term, long-term goals, whether that's moving out of state or small term where you just move after a
Hmm.
year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Hmm.
with your situation, when you have a house, you at least want to wait 4 to 5 years for your profit to go up, because obviously there's closing costs and stuff like that that you have to take into factor. And then with going to
Hmm.
school, you're kind of unless you're doing online schooling, then you can really do that from anywhere. But if you're tied down to a campus or some sort of accreditation program, you kind of have to stay where you're at.
Hmm.
But I get it,
Yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah. No, like I said, I guess if there's one big thing that we could take away from like what we're trying to do here is just like, get people to get goal oriented, figure out what you want, be a better person now and, just and live, you know what I mean? And make sure that everything you do now is helping you get to where you want to go, you
Mm-hmm.
know? If what you're doing now isn't helping you get to where you want to go, then probably should start reevaluating what you're doing now, you know?
Exactly.
Like, I guess it's just whenever I definitely, again, find myself struggling with being in like a good state, a beautiful state all the time. It's stuff something that I want to get better at and that I'm working to get better at, but definitely something that I struggle with. And I always see and definitely feel that when I'm not in that beautiful state, you can feel that like you feel like you're not at max. You're not
Right.
getting the maximum out of like what you could. You're not achieving the maximum. You're not getting the maximum amount of things done because you're almost settling when you're not living in that peak state with how you go about everything and your way of thinking and why am I doing this? I want to do this. This. You're not it's juiced. I like the word juiced today.
Yeah.
It's
We
a
put
good
it on a
one.
T-shirt. I found when you were saying that, I had this weird recollection of some sort of either podcast or a forum post or some sort of blog about the glass half full and which way
Hmm.
you see it.
Yeah.
The guy or whoever it was goes, "Fuck what you think about the glass. Get another damn glass and fill it up," or something of that nature. And I
Uh-huh.
thought about that. I'm just like, why don't just get another glass? Who cares if it's half full or the way you look at it? Get
Uh-huh.
another glass and fill it
Huh.
all the way up. You know what I mean? Now you have
Yeah.
two glasses, two and a
Yeah.
half, whatever you want to see.
Yeah. Double.
It's a crazy thing to do, and the way you look at it,
Yeah.
perspective is
Yeah. No,
huge.
perspective is key. Very big. We've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that before. Like never would have thought about that for that. And that's a really cool perspective.
Get
Never
another
thought.
glass,
Never.
man.
Yeah.
Fill it up.
Grab another one. Fill that bitch up.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. So that's it to conclude the talk. Like I said, guys, check out the video. Definitely helps put things more in perspective. You get a lot more of energy that Tony provides and stuff like that. It's just a really, really inspiring video and definitely worth checking out. Obviously not everyone's into the whole self development, self help kind of stuff, but that's what we're about and that's what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
So just hope that you stay with us for the journey with that and everything that we plan on doing in the future with that. The links to everything is going to be down below, to the video, the speaker, the interviewer. Everything will be down below, so you just feel free to click there. And David, where can everybody find us?
You can find us on all of the social links the on the video format. You can see all of the links, whether that is our Overcaffeinated Overqualified Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. All four of those are on screen. Obviously, they'll be on the description as well. My Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube is also on screen, and same with Ryan's. He includes his Facebook, his personal private Facebook, so if you want to DM him on there, you totally can. And then also on Twitch, Mixer, Facebook, on my personal Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure you guys check us
So,
out there, rate us, like us, download them.
yep, let us know what you think. Again, we want to hear your comments and feedback, and so we can get better. and we can help you guys out if you have any questions or anything like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch everyone next week.